Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Serious Football Heads podcast. Today, as always, I have Tom on my right. Tom, how are you doing?
Hey, pretty good, considering the sorry, sad shape of my Chargers. I was just thinking before we went on the air how at the end, listening to the radio a week after the Monday night game, how everyone was talking about the Chargers were coming back, that they were so close to tying up that game. And as that was happening, not once in my mind did I think the Chargers were going to actually score. I just had no confidence whatsoever. I would have been so shocked if they had scored on that final drive to tie it up. And even if they had scored, I would have anticipated them missing the extra point. So that's pretty much where we stand at this point in time with the Chargers. And I was thinking of Phillip Rivers all week long because for the first time in his career ever, high school, college, all his pro career, people are asking the coach if they're going to bench him. And that has to be devastating to this guy because he's, I mean, as a human being, he's superb. He's just a great guy. And for him to be in this position, I know it's got to be eating him. And I'm kind of glad and scared at the same time about the bye this week because it'll do one of two things to you. Either you dwell on how badly you've been playing for the past 3 or 4 games, with one exception, or you turn yourself around and come back with a renewed energy and vigor to, finish strong.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to be. And I haven't heard yet if they're going to bring back James or Adrian Phillips. We sit there and we are 3 games behind the Chiefs. We are 2 games behind the Raiders. There's 6 games to play. We do have a game against the Raiders and against the Chiefs coming up. So if we could win those, that would help eliminate that distance. But at the same time, being 3 games back with 6 games to play against 2 teams that are playing well right now it doesn't look good. So as I said, I've started scouting college quarterbacks. And speaking of which, last Saturday, Tua at Alabama goes down with a devastating hip injury.
Yeah.
It just so happened I was in Phoenix at my sister's for a wedding this weekend, and I was sitting next to my brother-in-law, who is an orthopedic surgeon. So we're sitting there watching the football game, and we see the highlight of Tua getting hurt. And I looked at that and I went, "Oh my God, did that just jam that hip right up into the socket?" And he looked at it, he said, "Well, I'll tell you what, if that dislocated, it fractured. And if it fractured, he's probably never going to be the same."
Yeah.
Now, all of the reports coming out this past week are the surgery was 100% successful. He'll have a full recovery. And I call BS on that.
Yeah.
Even Dr. David Chow got on the air and said, full recovery, if necrosis sneaks in there, he will have serious trouble the rest of his life. And so I'm thinking, if I'm Tua, I'm an underclassman, so I have to declare in order to be eligible for the draft. I'm not sure I would declare this year.
I wouldn't.
Because, and it's almost December now, and he's certainly not going to be ready for the combine. He's certainly not going to be ready 4 months from now for an individual workout. And if he stays in the draft and he drops to the 4th round and someone takes a flyer on him there, and then he spends a year recovering and comes back and he's, the same kind of quarterback, it'll be a great deal for them, but it will suck for him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking if I was him, I would not declare. I might go back and play at Alabama next year if I'm capable of doing that. Or do what Nick Bosa did last year and just not play your senior year and then go to the workouts, go to the combine, go to every time somebody wants you to go work out, go do it.
Yeah.
And, Bosa was the 2nd overall pick in the draft. So I don't think skill-wise he's going to be questioned. And his skill level is decent. He's a really good college quarterback. His mobility is going to be impaired. I mean, he'll never be that same guy running around. But if he can still play, he can become more of a Patrick Mahomes or a Russell Wilson, where he drops back and passes most of the time. When he has to run, he runs. But he goes down, he goes out of bounds, he never takes that hit. I just felt so bad for this kid. I mean, I looked at my brother after the conversation with my brother-in-law. I went, "Can you imagine? You're sitting here 6 months away from $30 million, and now quite possibly you're going to be driving for UPS. It's just a devastating concept to go through, and I certainly wish the best for him. But if I were him, I would not come out this year and get fully rehabbed, and you'll go in the first round if you wait. And if you can recover and you wait, you'll go in the first round.
Yeah.
Then again, who knows? Maybe Dallas took Jalen Smith in the second round, and that gamble paid off.
Yeah.
So
that's what I was just gonna say. If he were to wait, do the workouts or play next year, even if he's all the way up to just below his normal standard that he set this prior to this injury, somebody might just be willing to wait to take him in the top of the second round and just keep trading back.
Yeah, and that's certainly a possibility. Somebody might take a flyer on him in the first round. People have done weirder things. But to me, the difference money-wise between the first round and like the third or the fourth round, he would never make up that money as a third-round pick.
Yeah.
And even if it takes him 2 years to recoup, all right? You spend 2 years, you've come back finally healthy, all right? You're still got eligibility left. You can go someplace and play, and and prove to everybody that you can, or you just enter the draft. Simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, once your eligibility is over, you're eligible for the draft whether you want to be or not. I mean, you and I could be drafted right now.
Yeah.
And I'm so shocked that hasn't happened yet.
Actually,
all these years.
Actually, I'm still in
What's up
school.
with that?
I'm still in school, so I would have to declare for the draft. I'm only in my junior year.
So we'll see how he develops and how that recovery happens. And my wife had both of her hips replaced. She was a gymnast when she was a kid, so she's had both of them replaced 4 or 5 years ago now. And this wedding we were at this weekend, she was out dancing like a fool. And I looked at my buddy and he goes, "Well, she's very enthusiastic, isn't she?" And I said, "Can you believe she's had both her hips replaced?" She certainly couldn't play professional football or do any we don't ski anymore. We don't do any of that stuff because it's just, the risk is just too great.
Yeah.
But as far as everyday normal life goes, never even know. She works for an orthopedic surgeon right now for going on 4 years. He doesn't know. So, it's a miraculous thing. And I asked my brother-in-law, I said, "Why don't they just do the hip replacement now?" And he said, "Well, maybe it heals. We don't know. I mean, but maybe they go through and they do this reconstructive surgery and it heals. And the labrum is still intact and he still, has an opportunity to recover. But if there's any kind of necrosis that comes in, and that's the similarity to the Bo Jackson injury.
Yeah.
It's the necrosis. Because I understand that Jackson didn't realize the severity of this injury and he kept playing. And when he finally got hurt, and it ended his football career and it turned him into a mediocre baseball player. So it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. And certainly, Bo Jackson was 35, 40 years ago. And medical advancements, and what have you, are certainly better now than they were back then. But it's still a process of healing. And if it heals properly and he does the right rehab, which I have no doubt he will do, I suppose he does have a chance. But, like my brother-in-law said, yeah, he's never going to be the same. And in not too long, it's going to get arthritic. And the best case scenario, his career was cut in half. So that's just
lucky.
a shame. Yeah, that's just a shame. I felt so badly over the weekend. Every time I thought about it, was watching the games the next day. And, I looked at my brother-in-law, I just went, I can't get this Tua thing out of my head. Every time I see someone tackled, I just kind of feel so bad.
Yeah.
But it is a brutal game and that, freaky stuff will happen from time to time. It was freaky. Alex Smith's injury was freaky. You go back to the Joe Theismann injury. That was freaky.
Yeah.
But sometimes it does happen, which brings us back to what we've been saying about Lamar Jackson. With the position he puts his body in when he does those spins and twists and all of that stuff, if somebody's behind him when he does it and he gets hit, you're not in position to protect yourself at that point. So there you go. Anyway.
So I did on Saturday, I did a random live stream with a friend of mine about the Thursday night fight. I'm sure the listeners would like to know your thoughts besides what you texted me.
Didn't we discuss this last week? No, this was just this past Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, this was just this past Thursday.
God, you get so confused as it goes along. So far, I'm 100% behind what the league has said. I don't think it's a lifetime ban, but that particular instance on that particular stage certainly requires a bold response, and they stepped right up and they did it. I have no issue whatsoever with Pouncey's 3 games. I have no issue with Okunjoba's 1 game.
Which got upheld by the wall.
Yeah, that was upheld yesterday in like 20 minutes. And that's not his name. It's Okunjoba, whatever his name is.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And I would expect that Garrett will be done for the rest of the season. The question I have is, do they take it into next year or do they just let it be at this year? And I'm okay either way, to be perfectly honest. If he's done this year and then he comes back next season, I don't have a problem with that. It was a random act of impulsiveness. There was no premeditation to it, certainly, because it all happened in about 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it has to be dealt with. You can't just say, I know you're sorry. Well, I accidentally hit that guy on the sidewalk and I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
But there are still penalties to be paid for that.
Yeah.
And he is responsible for that particular action, regardless of, anything else. If he was smart and under control in a game, they were ahead 2 touchdowns with 8 seconds to play. And Rudolph started tugging at his helmet and kicking him in the crotch or whatever the hell, Rudolph was doing to him. He should have pushed him down, stood up, laughed and said, "Scoreboard, dude," and turned around and walked away.
Well, a bunch of us,
the correct response.
A bunch of my friends, and I we during the live stream, we rewatched the play. We think that either way, Garrett was going to get penalized because the ball was clearly gone when he made contact. It wasn't like a split second. It was clearly gone, and he drove him into the ground. He was going to get penalized one way or the other.
Yeah, and that's all part of the football play.
Yep.
And even the scuffling and rolling around on the ground was part of the football play.
Yep. No, and I get that.
When that helmet comes off, somebody brought up a thing I saw, and I went back and looked at it. Antonio Smith and Richie Incognito, and I kind of remembered this in the back of my mind while this was all happening.
Yeah.
But it's from 2013 in a preseason or a practice or preseason game.
Yeah.
Smith ripped off Incognito's helmet and swung it at his head. Okay. And he got suspended 2 preseason games and a regular season game. First of all, 2 preseason games is almost like a reward.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a penalty. Oh no, I can't play in the preseason.
I'm not going to get hurt. And one game check isn't going to affect most guys, even
right. But the point here is that was 6 years ago. How many different issues right now are being dealt with differently than 6 years ago?
Because 6 years ago we didn't have the player safety issues.
And 6 years ago, I don't even think we had the commissioner's exempt list 6 years ago.
No.
I think that started. It might have been whenever Peterson got suspended for whipping his child. That's the first time I ever heard of the exempt list, and that's what he went on. And I think it was created just for that situation. And the players that have been on it since, it's only been used half a dozen times maybe. But 6 years ago, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And
everything is being treated differently now. So trying to use that as a precedent for this case, which is what Garrett's team is doing.
Yeah.
Is using that as a precedent, of 2 preseason games and 1 regular season game. I don't think that has any bearing whatsoever on the decision that comes out now.
No.
6 years ago, When was Ray Rice? That's about 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, it was after. It was that after or before Peterson? I think that was before Peterson.
I don't remember, but the way that was handled is no longer handled like that anymore.
Yeah,
and so I just don't see the similarity between what happened then and what happened now. 10, 12 years ago, Kyle Turley for the New Orleans Saints ripped off a guy's helmet and threw it like 50 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Okay. In what I thought was the classic illustration of roid rage I have ever seen. And he got suspended, I think, for a game, but he didn't swing it at anybody.
Yeah.
And he didn't do it on national television, in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And neither did Smith. That was a preseason skirmish. I think it was at a scrimmage. I don't even think it was in a game. And I just don't think there's any connection between that and what happened with Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
If for no other reason, the Antonio Smith, Richie Incognito thing happened in a practice, not on national television. Ray Rice, nobody was on his case. He'd gone in. He told the commissioner what had happened. His wife told the commissioner what had happened. They were absolutely honest, as far as I understand, in what happened. And he got a 4-game suspension, and they were going to do some community service stuff and what have you. And it was all said and done. And then the video came out, and he was retried because people saw it.
Yep.
And that's such a huge issue in this instance. So I'm supporting what the league does here, and I know this is not a lenient league. These guys are not lenient in any way, shape, or form. I can remember a couple of times guys got it shaved from 4 to 3 games, that kind of stuff.
I don't think they'll shave anything for this season.
I don't think either. They might take the indefinite clause away and replace it with 6 games.
Yeah.
Or the remainder of this season, 6 games, or however far the Cleveland Browns go. That I can see happening. And that I wish they would, because then that takes any of the ambiguity away from their position. And if they say, okay, you know what? It's this season and the playoffs. You're done.
Yep.
Come back next year with a better attitude.
My only issue with it, having watched the replay, and I watched it real time several times, and like maybe one or twice at slow motion, just to watch what Rudolph did. Rudolph needs to be suspended a game or 2. I'm sorry.
I don't know about suspended, but fined, absolutely.
No. He had to have said something to get Garrett to cock off like that. This is something that he instigated it just as much as Garrett's to blame for the end result of it. He
certainly instigated it. I have no question about that, and I think he needs to be held accountable for it, however they decide to do it. But whatever it was Rudolph did on the ground, does not hold up to what Garrett did by swinging that helmet.
But here's the thing: if you look at Garrett's eyes through that whole thing, he is seeing red, just pure tunnel vision at Rudolph. This isn't something like it was just, hey, he pushed me in the head or something, trying to get me off of him after I tackled him. No, there was something that triggered that.
Oh, I totally agree. But it's not swinging a helmet.
And that's what I'm saying. He doesn't need to be suspended for the rest of the season. He does need to be suspended for causing this to happen.
Well, I don't know where it stands with the league right now. They said they were doing further investigation.
He's just got a high fine that's been undisclosed yet, as of yet.
Oh, good. I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry. This is giving fuel to the fire for commentators like Stephen A. Smith and others to say that there is a difference in the way it's handled for a white athlete and a black athlete. That's bullshit. There shouldn't be that ambiguity, and they need to come down hard on everybody that's involved. They haven't come down hard enough. Yes, he's a rookie, so he's not making as much money, so a big fine's going to penalize him. That doesn't negate the fact that he instigated the whole situation, and now he's being treated differently because 1, he's white, 2, he's a quarterback.
Well, I don't believe it's a racial thing at all, but
I don't think it is a racial thing either. But the problem is,
but I do agree with you. I mean, quite frankly, I can see taking that entire cluster of players, with the exception of David DeCastro,
Yeah.
who, as I said, if there's a hero in this, it's David DeCastro. I can see taking that entire cluster of players and suspending them. Absolutely. I hope it's a really hefty fine, because $100,000 or $125,000, that hurts this kid. He was a 4th-round draft pick or something.
I understand. I understand the difference of a fine for him versus a fine for Garrett. Completely different things. I get that.
Now, the other way that you can look at this is, as far as the physical violence of the episode, Garrett committed the most heinous act of the bunch. Pouncey, obviously punching and kicking.
Yep.
All right, right there. Rudolph, for whatever they were skirmishing on the ground, and even though he got up and went after Garrett, he still wasn't to the level of violence that the other guys were at.
And again, it's for me, it's not the level of violence. It's because all his actions, his actual physical actions that we can see, were minute in comparison to Garrett and Pouncey. Easily.
Yeah, and that's how they viewed it
but
as
the
well.
The problem is the NFL is not taking into account to what triggered the actual event. All they're doing is taking, you did this physical action, you get indefinite or the rest of the season, whatever they end up saying for Garrett. Pouncey, you were punching and kicking 3 games. The other guy, you came up and pushed him out of the way. You're getting you're getting 1 game. But Rudolph verbally, I'm quite positively verbalized something that just snapped Garrett. Whether it was talking about his mom, talking about his girlfriend, whatever it was he said.
I think he can't grow a mustache. That's what he was talking about.
Probably. I mean, but I mean, in all jokingness, something that most NFL players would just take in passing as, yeah, dude, just look at the scoreboard. We're whooping your ass.
Yeah.
If he's really close to somebody or something going on in his personal life that nobody knows about, triggers that.
Well, yeah, but now you're making a supposition.
No, I know. I'm not saying
you don't know that anything was said.
No, I know.
It might have just been, get the hell off of me, and he's trying to move him off and pull his helmet off because of his frustration, and that's all part of the football play. All right, if Garrett doesn't jump up, if Garrett jumped up and turned around and walked away, episode over. Done. Absolutely done. All right, but he doesn't. He retaliates. Okay? Now, at that point, it escalated beyond whatever it was that started it. And that becomes, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Well, 2 wrongs at this point escalating does nothing to solve this problem. And if DeCastro hadn't been there, Garrett would have swung that helmet at his head and had a clear shot at him. Okay? So no matter what he said or did, or no matter who started it, at some point in time, you've got, I'm sorry I shot him, but he was talking about my mother. It doesn't matter. You're not, if the guy that gets shot lives, he's not going to be charged because he said something about the guy's mother. It's in the level of violence that, we've talked about. Rudolph had the least amount of violence in this. Then it was Pouncey, and then it was Garrett. And that's how they've assessed it, and that's how the punishments have come down. I would love to know what that fine was, and I hope it's 6 figures, like $150,000. Because he'd have to, if he's married, he'd have to go home and talk to his wife about that. And they probably just bought a house, or they just, he's making an NFL salary, so he's not poor. But if he's making, $600,000, $700,000 a year, and he loses 150 of it in a fine, that's going to leave a mark. So it's not like if they had fined, Russell Wilson $150,000, he'd go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I spilled that much at the bar.
Which bank account do I take that from?
Yeah. So. Would you like that in Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've exhausted this.
Yeah, topic. We've exhausted this topic. So,
and it's I'm glad that Rudolph has been fined. I hope it's a hefty one, and I hope that they take Garrett to the rest of the season, and then let's forget about this and move on.
Yep. like I said, I know that I talked about it, and I wanted the fans to hear your side of it too. So, and
We have fans.
we have a few. We do have a few.
Interesting.
We do have a few
Interesting.
subscribers. I was
So,
able to drag some over from my Star Trek podcast over here.
oh,
so.
there you go. There you go.
All right. So
There was a Star Trek exhibit here in Las Vegas for many, many years, and the
I don't
sign
call
out
William
front.
Shatner an exhibit, although he's big.
Well,
enough to
no,
be
no,
one.
there was actually at the Las Vegas Hilton,
Oh, I know.
which is now the Westgate. Okay,
Yeah.
and they say that it has been visited, 6,450,000 times by 2,000 fans. So, anyway,
That's pretty accurate.
but I wrote that joke for a corporate executive years ago who wanted something about the Star Trek exhibit. Anyway, I was looking at the standings before we came on here, and just to kind of clarify it in my head, now that my Chargers are out of it, I can see the league in a clearer type of way.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of talk through them. We've got the AFC East, which it's cracking me up how everybody's panicked about the Patriots. They're like, oh my God, their offense isn't as good as it used to be. Oh, they're 9-1. Come on,
9-1 with
Gosh.
nearly 300 points. What were they at this point last year? Let's see here.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that Belichick is feeding this fire just so that people start to overlook them. It's crazy. But in the East, it's the Bills and the Patriots. Jets and Dolphins, of course, are out of it. Bills are only 2 games behind, and they play the Patriots again. So, if in fact this chink in the Patriot armor has any credence to it at all, Buffalo could make a move. So that's kind of interesting.
Yep.
In the AFC North, Ravens are basically running it away with it. I mean, Steelers are 3 games behind with 6 games to play or 5 games to play.
Yeah.
No, 6 games to play for them. It could happen. I don't see it happening, but it could. Bengals could make a run here and
upset the Browns and put them back in last place per usual.
I mean, I know it. The South is the most competitive. I mean, the Colts are in top at 6-4, and the Jaguars are 4-6 with 6 games to play. And I think they all play each other again. Well, the Colts and Texans will play this week. So that certainly is, I think, wide open. The Jaguars could even come back from that. So that's one of the more exciting ones to watch. The AFC West, it's now pretty much the Chiefs and the Raiders. Chargers are 3 games back with 5 games to play, and 2 of them against the Chiefs and the Raiders. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
NFC East, Cowboys, Eagles are right within a game of each other, 6-4, 5-5. Long way to go. 6 games for both of them. So there's something else going on. The Giants and the Redskins are certainly out of it. Are the Redskins mathematically eliminated? No, not yet. If they lose this week, they will be.
Yeah.
NFC North, again, interesting competition there between the Packers and the Vikings. The Bears are very disappointingly, 4 games back with 6 games to play. So I don't anticipate much going on there. South is the Saints. They could trip and drop it, but they're
Not
3
likely.
games ahead of the Panthers. That's very unlikely to happen. And then the NFC West is maybe the most interesting with the 49ers and the Seahawks. They got 1 game coming up on week 17.
Yep.
So that's going to be tremendously important. And 9-1, 8-2, and neither one of them has any wiggle room. If San Francisco, who they I forget who they play this week.
They play Green Bay.
That Green Bay could beat them.
Yeah.
And they got a couple other. I think they got New Orleans and a couple other teams like that coming up. So they've got a tough schedule coming up, and that might be really good for your Seahawks.
Well, that's just it. Both teams have some of the toughest schedules going the rest of the way, because they have Green Bay this week, Baltimore next week, at New Orleans the week after that.
what the hell is this schedule for them? Green Bay, Baltimore, and New Orleans. Now, granted, at the beginning of the season, nobody thought the Ravens would be doing what they're doing. Well, at least I didn't.
Green Bay's been mediocre at best the last couple of years.
Those are 3 division leaders in a row.
Yep. Then after that, it's Atlanta at home, LA at home, and then us. Then up at Seattle for the last game.
So of the 6 games left, they have to play 3 division leaders and the Seahawks. All right. If they split those, if they go 2-2 in those games and they win the other one, so they go 4-2 for the rest of the year, they'd end up 13-3. So that means that the Seahawks just have to, if they have to win they have to beat the 49ers first of all. And then they have to go 5-1. How many games
do we have
left?
Here's who we have left. We have Philly at Philly this week. We have Minnesota at home, at LA, at Carolina, Arizona at home, and
you got all division games in there too.
Yeah, we still have half our division.
This is gonna be a great little race to watch at the coming up on the end of the season because.
Yeah, and if you look at the division standings of the record of the division, San Francisco's 3-1. We're 3-0 because we've only played each team once. The Rams are 0-2 and Arizona's 0-3.
Yeah, the Rams. The Rams aren't dead yet, but not dead yet. But they still got to play the 49ers Seahawks again, and they're going to be another one of those teams that loses the Super Bowl and doesn't make the playoffs.
And our conference records are pretty much identical. I mean, they got one more game in conference than we do. Non-conference game, their record is just a little bit better. But as long as we can beat them in week 17, if we tie, we have the tiebreak right there. So,
wow. Well, there's a long way to go. You've got
there now,
Philly, Minnesota, and San Francisco to play in that stretch. So,
yep.
So there you go. All right, let's get to our picks.
Yep.
Week 12 of the NFL 2019 season. I don't care. Really. I mean, the other thing I look forward to now is the prime rib at Miller's Ale House on Thursday night. So we got.
Well, you'll get a great game this week.
Yes, Indianapolis at Houston. Brissett's playing.
Colts are 3-0 versus AFC South opponents this season so far.
Yep, they're playing well. Probably better than anyone anticipated. And that's a good story there. I mean, people are starting to talk about Frank Reich as far as Coach of the Year goes. You lose your blue chip starting quarterback to retirement, and don't miss a beat. That's pretty good for you guys. I'm going to take Houston in this game because they're at home. They were so terribly embarrassed last week, and Indianapolis won the first game. All of those things, to me, point towards Houston bouncing back because they're not a bad team. They were so thoroughly embarrassed last week. And having already, and usually you look for the split in these division games when the teams are at this level, and they're at home. So I'm going to take Houston.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this too. The Colts aren't the greatest team in the NFC South. They're going to lose division games, and I think that being spurred on at home, the Texans are going to win.
Very good. Next one on my little Yahoo list here is Tampa Bay at Atlanta. The surging Atlanta Falcons. The come-from-nowhere Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons that sometime over the bye managed to replace all of their team with really good players.
I know.
Wearing the same numbers. Consequently, Tampa Bay, my goodness, I don't know. I just get this feeling that Bruce Arians is just waiting for the end of this season so he can fix the quarterback situation.
Oh, yeah.
And I have no idea. I think Winston and Mariota both end up as backups someplace. If Winston even gets a job. The stat I heard yesterday, he's played in 67 games and he has 99 turnovers. So This week he could have his 100th turnover. Ladies and gentlemen, the bells go off.
That's not something you would want, I think.
In 68 games, have 100 turnovers. So I don't know. It's for somebody that has the physical, I guess he's just another one of these guys that has great physical ability, but just can't play quarterback. And if physical ability was the requirement to play quarterback, there would be no Tom Brady. There would be no Phillip Rivers. There would be no Drew Brees, although he's the most athletic of the three of them. So I am taking the hot streak Atlanta Falcons in hot Atlanta to defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, let's see. What did the Bucs do last week? I thought they were pretty close last week in their game.
They've been close in almost every game. They've won.
No, they were not even close. They were doubled up by the Saints, though. It was the Saints. I don't know who to pick in this one.
No,
what's the point?
You got to say is Atlanta
4.5 by Atlanta. I'm going to go with the Falcons at home.
Yeah, and are they going to continue their winning ways? Who knows? They've done it twice, so we'll see.
It's just one of those. Both teams are not the greatest, and flip a coin.
Going on, I have Denver at Buffalo.
Shall I just pen you in for the Bills?
Yes, you can. As a matter of fact, on the Yahoo pick distribution, it's Buffalo has 87% of the picks, and to Denver's 13%. Brandon Allen hasn't been horrific. Good for him. But when you get a rookie in there, it's usually game 3 or game 4 that everybody starts to catch up.
Yeah.
And they're going into Buffalo. It's now winter. It was winter here today, as a matter of fact, or yesterday and today it rained. So winter should be over by tomorrow, and then we'll go back into our normal lives. But it'll be winter, and Denver traveling east. And Buffalo's, they're close to grabbing it. They can see it. They can see being a really good team right in front of them. And when you're that kind of team, this is the game that you have to win. So I think their defense is stronger. I think Josh Allen is better than Brandon Allen. Certainly has more experience. I think Denver might have a stronger running game. Although Frank Gore, once he gets out of the walker, he does really well. He still moves pretty well. So he's third all-time in rushing right now in the NFL. Yeah. So
they're going to be carting him out on a wheelchair.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks like it. I'm just looking at their the roster for Buffalo. It's actually Josh Allen, who's been in the league a couple years now. Matt Barkley and Senorise Perry. Oh no, he's a running back. Never mind. They only have 2 quarterbacks, Barkley and Allen.
Mm-hmm. So who's your pick?
I'm gonna go with the Bills because it's all right. The Bills versus
Very good. We're gonna get music in the background like they do on the radio.
I can always add that in. I can add that in After Effects.
Chicago Bears versus the New York Giants in Chicago Stadium. The weirdest looking stadium I've ever seen. Looks like a spaceship set down in the middle of Soldier Field. Bruce Murray called this the game to miss.
Yeah, well, the Bears are, since week 8, scoring 14.3 points per game, which is the 3rd fewest in the NFL.
And what are the Giants doing? 9, 7.5?
Something like that.
I'm taking the home team. I'm going to take Chicago. Trubisky played better last week. Not that means anything. He's been pretty much up and down, but he kind of goes in, clusters. Had 2 really bad games. He has 3 good games, 2 bad games.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's going on in New York, but they just can't seem to get out of their own way. I'm surprised Barkley's he's kind of hurt though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still kind of hurt.
Yeah, because he's not been having a great season. They've got no wide receivers to throw to. Trading away OBJ is obviously,
Killing them.
a glaring mistake for them. Although they might feel better about themselves and their team, it's, as far as on the field goes, it was not a great move. But I'm going to stay with Chicago just because of the home team.
Yeah, I was putting myself in for the Giants, but then I remembered that Barkley's been hurt, and I think they only have Golden Tate to throw to right now. So unless they're throwing top pot donuts, he ain't gonna catch them.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm going with the Bears too at home. It's just again the game of the week to miss. Although the next one that I have isn't too far from the truth.
Which one is that?
Steelers at Paul Brown Stadium to face the Bengals.
Yeah, well, they've got that home field advantage there in Cincinnati.
Yeah, they do.
It is a division game. Pittsburgh has not been playing great, particularly with all the controversy coming up. And I think Cincinnati might be really, in position to lose their 11th game. So I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers in this. Although on the Yahoo thing, Cincinnati has gotten 18% of the picks. So
how many sock accounts did what's his name?
How many what?
Sock accounts, fake accounts did.
Oh.
What's the Bengals fan that nobody's heard of since week 1?
Oh, Cincy Dave.
Yeah, Cincy Dave. I wonder how many.
Nope. Yeah, I don't know. I think he moved. I think he lives in Cuba now. But yeah, what a shame in Cincinnati. So they're clearly on pace for the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
They did draft Ryan Lindley last year, but not like till the 3rd or 4th round. I don't remember. It wasn't a first rounder, so they're certainly not committed to him. Andy Dalton will be gone, I believe, and they will be looking for a quarterback. So it might very well come down to who Cincinnati wants first.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow might be looking good in the Tiger stripes. So we'll have to wait and see. But in any event, I think we're both on the Steeler bandwagon here, right?
Yep, we're both on the Steelers.
All right. Here's an interesting game here I got next. Miami at Cleveland. First glance, you jump on Cleveland because it's Miami. Except that you got to remember that Miami is not the same Miami it was week 5.
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing them right out of the top 5 in the draft. And Fitzmagic can, when he gets hot, he's just unstoppable, and he's streaky too.
Until he makes his next turnover.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he falls apart, and then you have to sit him down for a couple of games. Then he comes in and he's fantastic again. But it is in Cleveland. I think, of course, Myles Garrett will not be playing.
Yep.
And Okunjobi will not be playing. But I think if nothing else from last week, Cleveland kind of got a real confidence boost because up until the last 8 seconds of that game, they dominated the Steelers. Yeah. And that feels good. And they also know that their season's on the line and they've got a team that's coming in that they are capable of beating. So I am going to take the Cleveland Browns.
I'm taking the Browns as well because I just can't trust the Dolphins, even with Fitzpatrick back there.
Yeah.
He's due for his next breakdown, so to speak.
But it's a tribute to Miami that we both hesitated.
It is because honestly, with the way they started out the season, looking forward, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to pick this team. And I actually, when I came back to this week, I was like, do I flip on what my initial thoughts were? Do I take the Dolphins? But seeing what the Browns were doing to the Steelers last week, really makes me.
And I did, twice. My cardinal rule is once you make your choice, move on. Don't change it. I changed one last week, and I lost the game. So
not that it would have mattered much in the weekly standings.
What did we say? Okay, Carolina at New Orleans.
Just penny in for Breeze.
Yeah, Drew Brees. Yeah, Carolina's only getting 4% of the Yahoo vote here.
Well, here's the thing. What was the last one that we did that with the Saints where we just
Atlanta.
Yeah, it was Atlanta, wasn't it? We were just like
Yeah,
division opponent, and I even warned about it. I'm like, Atlanta could probably come in and do something. We need a
but
change here. I'm taking the Panthers.
all right, good for you.
I'll let you get a game back. I'm
Kyle
now up
Allen
six.
Kyle Allen has thrown, I think, 7 interceptions in the last 3 games, or 8 interceptions in the last 3 games.
He'll turn
after
around.
going 5-0 and not throwing an interception in 5 games. So I hope that he does, because I really like this kid, and I think he's got a real future in the league. But once everybody gets film on you, then they know how to disguise things better, and he just has to learn how to read the defenses faster at this point in time. So it'll come. All right, going on. I've got Oakland going cross country to the New York Jets.
Yep.
What do you think?
I really want to just out of spite to the Raiders take the Jets, but realistically, I think the Raiders are going to be able to pass up and down on the team because they have the number 1 run defense right now. I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to use Josh Jacobs in the same way that they have been lately, which is just here's the ball, run it down the field.
The Jets have the number 1 run defense?
Yep. Jets number 1 run defense.
That's a bit of a misleading stat, because that just means what's their pass defense?
Oh, I'm sure their pass defense is something like atrocious.
Horrible. Yeah, so nobody runs against them. So, yeah, that's interesting. I'll tell you the one fact. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Who's your pick?
Oh, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
All right. The one stat that is most significant to me here, if this game was in Oakland, I'd be picking the Raiders hands down. Oakland is the worst team in the league going west to east. They are horrific when they do that.
And it is a 10 a.m. game.
And it's going to be cold, and it's in New York, and the Jets have not been sucking as much. Darnold had a couple of really, really bad games, but the last 2 have been really good. And he had a couple of good games before that. He went into a little slump. He's now playing better. I'm going to take the Jets in this, and it has nothing to do with spite. It just has to do with the fact that the Oakland Raiders suck on the East Coast.
Let's see here. I want to do team. Of course, it's giving me it's just giving me the offensive players, it's giving me the players, but not the team stats. Let's see. Come on. Oh, there we go. Team stats. Helps if I look at the banner. So, yeah, Jets are number 1 rush defense this week.
Wow.
That'll be tested. They're 21st, and let's see where they are overall.
That put them like at 9th or 11th, something like that.
The Jets are sitting at 13.
13. You're in the top half of the league.
Oakland's 20th overall on defense.
So.
And the Seahawks are 24th.
So I'm still staying with the Jets.
Well, let's compare the 13th ranked defense against the 11th ranked offense.
Yeah, that's pretty even.
Yep. That'll be a good game to watch, actually.
Yeah, except it's at 10 a.m. on the East Coast, and they suck on those games.
I will take that bet.
All right, so that's our only difference so far, isn't it?
No, that's their second, because I took the Panthers.
Right. Okay, so we split on those. Next, I've got your Seattle Seahawks going into the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, where they boo Santa Claus and have a jail cell in their stadium and are proud of it.
Yeah, they are.
I'm going to let you go first.
Well, based on this season alone, Russell Wilson is 5-0 with a 116.2 passer rating on the road this season. So that gives you great pause. The fact that we played, I think, 2 or 3 10 o'clock games already this year, and we've won those, gives me some good good vibes there. I said standings, you stupid computer. Come on. It's bad when my computer is faster than the server.
There you go. That's like Brady and Breeze.
Let me look at our schedule just to make sure I've got it right. So we went back and played Pittsburgh, and I believe that was a afternoon game, though. I think that was a 1. Oh, well. Can't go back and
Well,
get the times,
while you're finding that, the Yahoo stats are almost even. 53% have taken Philly and 47 have taken Seattle.
And I can actually see that because this should be, Fox's game of the week, so to speak,
Yeah.
I know it won't be because getting Troy Aikman up for a 10 a.m. game on the West Coast, for the West Coast, it ain't happening. But in all seriousness, this is going to be a great game, and if we win this game, I have no doubt we can win the division this year. The Eagles do present a tough defense against us. I think they're like, where were they? I just need to keep that stat window open instead of trying to play with it.
5-5. Well, they're 5-5 overall, behind a 6-4 Dallas team in the East. Seattle's clearly the better team at this point in time.
Record-wise, yes. Let's see, because we're the number 4 offense overall, which is really weird because we're not even in the top 5 of passing or rushing.
Yeah, I don't know how they come to those conclusions either.
I think it's just overall just general stats, but the Eagles are 9th defense overall. So it's going to be a lot closer than you think it's going to be.
And as we were talking earlier, the battle between Seattle and the 49ers, there's hardly any room for error.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to lose this game, then San Francisco would have to lose to Green Bay in order for them to maintain any kind of solid position. So they really do absolutely have to win, don't they?
Yeah,
you're gonna hate me for this.
You're gonna.
I had picked Philadelphia, but I just talked myself into Seattle.
Oh, you are evil, man.
What did I just say? Don't change your pick.
Exactly.
Right? Don't change your pick. But Seattle at 8-2, going into Philadelphia at 5-5. Now, the other thing I thought, one of the reasons I picked Philadelphia originally was something you had said earlier, is that Seattle going back east does not play well generally. But then you just said they're 5-0 on the road.
Yeah.
And they've already gone back east and played games. So,
here's the other thing though. The Seahawks this time of year, late November, early December, or all of December, they basically play like this is the playoffs already. Yes, they do lose occasionally in December and November, but they're in the one game at a time mentality.
Right.
And we're coming off of the bye.
Oh, that's true too. Yep, I changed my pick.
All right, so you're flipping back now?
Sorry. Nope. I'm taking Seattle. Sorry.
So,
all right. Washington Redskins going into the Detroit Lions. Here's another one of those games. Detroit should win this game handily. Haskins has yet to win a game. So as a rookie starter, he has yet to win a game. And quite frankly, of the rookies that have been playing this year, he's faring the worst.
Oh yeah.
He just doesn't seem to have a grasp.
Who's the coaching?
It's Bill Callahan.
No, that would explain it though.
He doesn't seem to have a grasp of the pro game at all. He was my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft, but he certainly hasn't lived up to that expectation.
Well, the Lions have lost 6 of their last 7.
Yeah, and Stafford is not playing.
Yep.
I think he might be done for the year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, he says on the news section they said something about he still wants to play.
Yes, I know he does, but he's that kind of guy. He's the guy who he dislocated his shoulder like his rookie year and came back in and threw a touchdown pass.
Yeah.
He's as tough as they come, but there's tough and there's stupid. So, and with nothing on the line, there's no reason really to bring him back. Although, people will talk about that mentality
Yeah.
from a cool, when cooler heads prevail, bringing him in and risking, a permanent injury or a chronic injury on his back, which I think he's already at that point. He's had these issues for a while. I don't think that's not a smart thing to do. But what's his name? Not Dalton. Can't remember the quarterback. Brett something. Anyway, he's been playing well, and Washington's just been playing awful. So I'm taking Detroit.
Yeah, I want to take Washington. I really do, but they just don't know. They just can't get out of their own way. Is what's going on here, and it's just as a fan of the game in general, it bugs me when teams are like this. Proverbially the Cleveland Browns have been that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Chargers are that way.
Well, you haven't done as long and consistently as Cleveland, so I'm not yet to say that to you guys.
Well, there is we're going to Jim and Pat, we're going to do this thing last Friday called Freak Out Friday, where you call in and you express your frustrations about your team. And I was all set to do it because I thought they were talking to me personally. And it was like they said, Tom, call and talk about the Chargers. And then, of course, Miles Garrett blew up on Thursday night, and that's all that happened all day Monday, all day Friday. But one of the things I wanted to say was this guy, Dave, who's the Cleveland fan that started this whole thing, he had said, I have this fear that I'm going to wake up in 30 years and we still don't have a Super Bowl championship. And I'm like, Dave, get a drink and sit down. We got to talk. I moved to San Diego when I was 20 years old, became a fan immediately. I turned 65 next week. That's 45 years without a Super Bowl championship. I'm like, come on, dude. I wish I could tell you what it was like at 30 years. I just don't remember. It was so long ago. The two guys that sat next to me that first year, we bought our season tickets in 82. And the two guys that sat next to me for all those years, they've both died. They never got to see a championship. And here I am. And now Phillip Rivers is done. And I'm like, oh, my God. We're going to start rebuilding with a quarterback. We've got a great team, but no quarterback. And if we draft somebody, he's not coming in next year and doing anything. So I'm looking at another couple of years before that happens. And I don't know how long I have, but hopefully more than 3 years. But that's just like, that's that kind of frustration that you have after all of this time. And, and at least we went to a Super Bowl. There's still 14 franchises that have never been to a Super Bowl. And Detroit is one of them.
Yeah.
So, and it won't be this year, but that same kind of frustration. They haven't won a playoff game, as a matter of fact, since like 63 or something. Or since Barry Sanders. I think Barry Sanders won a playoff game for them.
Yeah.
But they've got that same frustration building. Not that it plays out this week, but I'm still going to take Detroit.
Yeah, I'm going to take Detroit in this one as well because it is. Lesser of two evils, I guess. And apparently I can spell lines today. I'm spelling loins.
Well, there you go. That's subliminal because you know what they're going to do to you.
Yep.
All right, I got Jacksonville at Tennessee. This is a good game.
The Titans have won 4 of their last 5 games against Jacksonville.
With my pal, Ryan Tannehill at the helm.
Well, no. That's the 4 of the last 5 games, period. But they're saying 4 of the last 5 against Jacksonville specifically.
Oh, specifically.
Yeah. Jacksonville.
This is the game I switched last week because I had Foles coming in and playing his, off the bench savior mentality and winning this game. And he played okay, but they didn't play very well against Indianapolis at all. I think Foles is in a bad position right now because he's got to be feeling an awful lot of pressure.
Oh yeah.
For Minshew to come in and go 4-4 and play as well as he did as a rookie, and now Foles to come in a starting position, which he traditionally has never really had much success at.
No.
And making all of that money and not having played for the first 8 weeks, Maybe he was pressing last week. I don't know. I didn't watch enough of the game to tell. But the Titans seem to be blessed this season.
They do.
Chargers first and goal from the 1 with 1 minute to play, and they can't get in. Last week against Kansas City, a game they should have been, Kansas City should have dominated them, and instead they win that game. And they've won a couple of games, if I remember right, on field goals at the end of the game. So they just seem to be touched this year. So I'm going to take the Titans over Jacksonville. I think this will pretty much eliminate Jacksonville from the
just about, yeah.
4-7. It wouldn't mathematically eliminate them, but it would certainly
it'd be harder for them to get in.
Make it a real long shot. But I'm going to take Tennessee at home.
I'm taking Tennessee at home too. It's the Titans at home. They've been doing really good this year at home. I mean, not perfect, obviously, because they're 5-5, but there's just an air about them that the ball is bouncing their way. Now, who knows? This could be the game where the ball bounces the Jags' way.
Yeah, and it could be the game that Nick Foles realizes that all he has to do is play football.
Yeah.
So, all right, here's a good one. Dallas and New England with the struggling, stumbling New England Patriots.
Oh.
Barely able to get on the bus and field a team. They've got no talent. They've got nothing going for them. We don't know why they're still in the league.
Well, here you go. Dallas has the number 1 ranked total offense versus the New England number 1 total ranked defense.
Defense. In New England.
Yeah. And
Yahoo has it at 90% are picking New England and 10% are picking Dallas. And I'm going to pick New England too because why? Well, we've each had 9 wins this season because we keep picking the Patriots and we've had 1 loss. So I'm going to maintain that. That being said, this is where we're going to find out if, in fact, there is an issue in New England.
Uh-huh.
They've got to – Dallas is not a pushover team. They're going to have to play them hard. They can't afford another loss because Baltimore will scream past them in the standings.
Yep.
And matter of fact, if there's another loss, Baltimore goes to the number 1 seed because they've already beaten the Patriots.
Yep.
So I'm picking New England, but we're going to find out. If there's an issue in New England, it's going to show up this week.
Yep.
That's what I think.
And I think you could also say kind of the same thing for the Cowboys, even though they're 6-4 and they're 1 game ahead of Philly. They should be able to. I think they have a pretty, I don't want to say easy schedule the rest of the way, but they got I think their strength of schedule is weaker than Philly's. Come on. Dallas
Yeah,
Cowboys.
and if and the Eagles playing the Seahawks, if they both lose, then there's no movement in the East.
Yep.
If the Eagles win and the Cowboys lose, they'll be tied.
Yep.
And I think the Cowboys won the first Eagles game, so they'd still stay in first place.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so it's not the end of the world for the Cowboys if they lose.
And they play each other again week 16.
Yeah.
Which will probably
Worst
be
case-
for the division.
Yeah, worst case scenario for the Eagles is the Cowboys win and they lose. Then they're back 2 games, and it makes things a lot tougher for them.
Here's the last 6 for Dallas. Obviously, New England. Buffalo at home. At Chicago. Is that the Chargers or is that the Rams?
Rams. We don't play Dallas this year.
Rams at home, at Philly, and then finishes up Washington at home.
That's not an undoable schedule.
No.
They could go 4-2 in that stretch easily.
Yeah, and you could easily see that 4-2 being the 2 losses could be the first 2 games of that stretch, or it could be Chicago and they beat Buffalo. I mean,
and then all they have to do is beat Philadelphia again, and they've got the East.
Yep.
So, all right. So we're taking New England because
New England.
you don't pick against New England. Sunday night, the game of the week. Green
They
Bay,
flexed
San
this out
Francisco.
for this
Yes.
game.
They flexed it into there. So Green Bay, San Francisco. That flex thing, that's happened to the Chargers once or twice when they were playing better. And it really screws people up because, we used to fly into San Diego, go to the games, and there was one flight at 7:00 that we could get back. And then as soon as they flexed it to Sunday night, now you got to change your plane ticket and the whole thing. So it's a pain in the butt, and you got to get another night at a hotel. And
Yep.
So anyway, these kind of games, you go start breaking them down, and you're looking at San Francisco's defense and Aaron Rodgers and, the running game and the pass defense and what have you. And, and Garoppolo versus Aaron Rodgers and yada, 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 yada. And you just at the end of all of that analysis, to me, it's a coin toss.
Yeah.
I'm taking San Francisco at home just because they've been playing more consistently than Green Bay has. I think the Charger game woke up Green Bay. I think whatever happened, I was talking to Coach the other day, and he's, was saying that he thought there was something weird going on. And, when Green Bay went to LA, and even if they, the rumor was they were all out partying the night before, and that's why they played so badly. And I don't know that that's true. I don't know that happens, in the real NFL anymore, just because you can't do it and not get caught. So I think they just played poorly, and I think that woke them up.
Yeah.
They came back. They almost lost last week to Carolina.
Yeah.
Who they stopped
miraculously.
McCaffrey on the one, and won the game. But I'm just going to go with the consistency of San Francisco, and we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm picking Green Bay against my better judgment because this stat right here should warn me from making this pick. Aaron Rodgers is facing a team that's 9-1 or better for the first time in his career. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but my hatred for the 49ers carries me much further than a random stat like that. Okay, I wouldn't say hatred.
I don't know that that's necessarily true because Aaron Rodgers didn't win a Super Bowl. So whoever he played in that Super Bowl was,
Yeah.
was pretty good.
But no, I take
Maybe
this,
not.
I take this back to I used to be a Green Bay Packers fan when the Seahawks were in the AFC. So
Right, I remember.
So I'm going to root for my secondary team here, and hopefully they get that. Now, my question is, this was an afternoon game that got flexed into the Sunday night game.
Right.
Why did they flex us into a 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific game? Because it's the
obviously the league is rigged, and they're trying to do everything they can to dissuade the Seahawks from winning, and I don't think that's fair.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
I'm sure it had to do with this. Looking at the schedule, it would have been better to have another afternoon game. There's only 2 afternoon games.
Yeah.
It would have been better to have another afternoon game. It could have to do with
because they already had.
Well, no, it wouldn't have been. Yeah.
They already would have had a Fox crew there.
Yeah.
Or,
I don't
scheduled
know.
for that afternoon. So
there
there must be something else going on in Philly this week that.
Well, that's what I was about to say, except that game was supposed to be played at night. So there's nothing going on in the stadium.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing in the stadium. I would say something else in Philly that would, around that time, that would have congestion.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Sixers game or something, but I don't know that would be a real consideration because then you've got the game getting out while the Sixer fans are coming. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know why they put it in the morning. So
it's just something that I thought about.
Okay, final game: Baltimore at the Los Angeles Rams.
They should have flexed this one out.
Well, no, they want Lamar in prime time. I'll tell you. I see no way the Rams win this game.
I just don't either.
I've given up. I was 100% wrong about Lamar Jackson at the beginning of the year. I had the Ravens at 6-10 for the season. Couldn't have been more wrong. So, and I think at this point in time, Harbaugh would be my choice for Coach of the Year, just for what he's been able to do. With playing to this kid's talents and putting him in the best position that he can be in to win.
I don't know. The 49ers coaching staff has got coach has a shot at this as well. So
absolutely. But at the same time, San Francisco didn't revamp their entire offense. They just got their quarterback back.
That is true.
Baltimore redid their entire offensive philosophy to great success. So I'm going to take Baltimore against the Rams, who, like I was saying earlier, will be in that losing the Super Bowl, not making the playoffs category.
Yeah, that's hard because the Seahawks, I think, were the last team to kind of break that curse. Because we lost the Super Bowl the next year to the Patriots, but we were still in the playoffs the following year.
Yeah.
So, but oh well. I'm also taking the Ravens. The Rams have just not been playing that great this season.
And right now for me, the Ravens are in the same category as the Patriots are. I'm just picking them because they're winning. And
yeah, 8-2. No one, you can't scoff at that.
And 49-7 last week, or 46-7. They're winning decisively. Mm-hmm. They're running away with stuff. Now, when the playoffs come, that's going to be a different story. But right now, I'm taking I will never pick against the Patriots. Or well, I can't say never. If Patriots go on a 4-game losing streak, that's going to be one thing. But I'm not picking against the Patriots or the Ravens unless something drastic happens.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one entirely.
So there you go. I'm going to save it this time so that my changed pick, which helped me in my Yahoo pool, but not with you.
Yeah, I've got 6 games on you now.
So,
other than that, I hope for a really good week. I mean, a lot of these games seem like even like the Falcons and Bucks game seems like it could be a really good one. Even though both teams are 3-7.
Yeah.
Tonight's game
I've always found that when teams are evenly matched, it makes for good games, regardless of how poor they both are, unless they're just totally inept and it's just 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and 3 and out. That gets ridiculous. But when they're evenly matched, it tends to be a good game.
Yep. I'm looking forward to tonight, and let's go Texans.
All right. And I'm looking forward to my prime rib. So we'll see you guys all next time.
Enjoy your week off, by the way, rooting for the Chargers. You'll need it.
Yeah, I know.
All right, everybody. Take care.